Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for listening in today. It's been a minute since I've put out a new episode, especially if you're a regular listener. You will have noticed if this by chance is your first episode listening or just picking up, you're not listening every week. Obviously, you would have noticed that. But saying these things is just part of my way of getting this out because it has taken me a bit to record this episode. And that doesn't mean that when I talk about some things that are particularly difficult or whatever, it's just a theme that I've spoken about over the years and several times is that it seems kind of silly that I even have a job and people like me even have a job, and that fitness is such a thing that we discuss so often and is such a prevalent issue in our society today. And the reason for that is simple. I mean, this is not a normal state. It's not normal for people to be extremely obese and in pain all the time and hurting and all of the symptoms of a lack of fitness and a lack of basic health. And yet we find ourselves in this situation. And I always say this kind of tongue in cheek because if the world was functioning perfectly, everyone would be healthy. There would be no need for people like me doing the job that I do and having this podcast and training people and all that stuff. And training and physicality things would be they would be left for like Olympic athletes and super high performance stuff for people who are trying to push the boundaries of human performance. And there's a place for that, but for the rest of us, like, exercise should just be a normal thing. We should know how to do this as a kid. It should just be an ingrained part of our society, but our society is built up in such a way right now that this is needed. And so that is something that is in my head all of the time. And it's this dichotomy between fitness is like not that big a deal in the sense that it's not that difficult and we like can and should just be able to do it. And on the other hand, it's like it's one of the most important things that is impacting our society. And I can draw some examples and stuff to paint that picture. May not be relevant right now, but it's extremely important and both like extremely simple and silly that we're even in this mess. So when other things happen in life, be it personal things or things that affect all of us, it shifts the perspective of those things. And so, another avenue of this, and forgive me, my thoughts are not super organized on this, but I will get to some Q&A stuff and I will get to actual fitness things. So if you don't care, just skip ahead a little bit. Fitness is pretty simple and like there's not really any new stuff to say. Everything is, and this is not like a negative is the way anyone speaks or the way that I speak, because I have nothing new to discover either. But we all say things that are repackaged in new ways with maybe new examples, new analogies, through the lens of my own life or the lives of my clients and the people that I know. And so everything, we're kind of coming at things from different angles, but there's nothing new. There's no new information. We kind of know all of the stuff. It's how to lose weight and how to build muscle and how to train and all these things is pretty much a solved problem. Like humanity, we know how to do this. We know how to create these effects. Getting people to do it is a different thing in the context of their own life, and trying to, make it stick and all that stuff is different, but it's not a mystery in the same way that like, what's a ridiculous example? Like, we don't know how to, fly to Jupiter. Like that's a thing that humanity, we haven't figured that out yet. We don't know how to do that. We know how to help people lose weight. We know how to create the conditions for weight loss. We know how to create the conditions for muscle gain and strength gain and mobility improvements and blah, blah, all these things. There are some arguments, but like these are arguments at the fringes. Like we're arguing about like 0.1% things. And that's where the arguments should lie, is in like high performance, very minuscule differences and trying to push the boundaries of what's possible and whatever. But like, arguing about less important things for regular people, and regular people, I mean non-high performing athletes, is it's a little bit silly. And again, we've solved this problem. So at times, for me, it seems it's not always that fun to keep talking about it. I'll say that. And it's not that I don't love this. I love helping people. It's what I obviously spend my life doing, and like I do this podcast every week and all this stuff. I absolutely love helping people, but the stuff is not always super exciting. And when other things in life happen that just seem way more important, in this case, the assassination of Charlie Kirk really hit me, not necessarily personally, but just as like a, there's way more important things in life that we need to collectively just be discussing, in my opinion. And I'm not going to discuss all these things because I don't think it's my place. I don't have all the answers to to everything, and I don't pretend to, and I don't think that anyone has the answers to all those things. But sometimes it's like, hey, we can take a step back and like, we missed a little bit of content about some fitness stuff. Is the world still going to go around? Yes. We're still going to be all okay? Yes. And so trying to put my thoughts together on things like that and prioritize things in life and other things that happened in my life for the past couple of weeks, which is, not relevant to anyone else, and everything's okay and all good. It's just like, hey, sitting down to talk about fitness just didn't seem all that important to me in a public way via the podcast. Obviously, I still was working with my clients and keeping them on the go, and I did the 10K steps challenge. If you follow me on social media, you would have seen that. So that has started and finished in the time since I recorded the last episode. So I've still been, helping people, keeping up, but like sitting down to record another podcast in the billions of hours of content that is out there is just like, it hasn't seemed all that important, and not that it was gonna do any wrong, but is it going to fall on deaf ears? And maybe this is also me getting sucked into the cycle of social media, which is certainly a part of it, and not a good thing, but it is what it is. But we need to, the way that I sign off each episode, if you listen all the way to the end, is always, go outside, be a good person, and I'll see you next time. And that be a good person part is important. I saw a post today where it was from a different podcast with Matthew McConaughey, actually, and Chris Williamson. And he was asking him the difference between like a nice person and a good person, which this is something I've also spoken about as well. And being nice, and we'll keep it in the context of fitness, but like being nice is like telling an obese, weak, sick person that like, hey, it's okay that you're like that. Like, you don't got to change. Like, you're amazing. Like, you do you. That's a very nice thing to say. You're not hurting anyone's feelings. It's a very nice thing to say. But is it a good thing to say? Is it healthy to be extremely overweight, to not exercise, to only eat junk food, to drink alcohol every night, to smoke and do drugs, and just like generally not engage in healthy behaviors? Is that a good thing to enable? I think the obvious answer there is no. And sometimes we get too much. We focus too much on being nice instead of being good. And like, we know how to be a good person as well. This is another solved thing. And so, this is where religion comes into play a little bit. Like, we have solved the answer to these things. If we follow what we should be doing, then we would have a lot less issues in the world. And so it's about application and about making space for these things. So maybe now I'm rambling a little bit again. My thoughts on this are not organized, but I need to get this off my chest just to explain why there's been a little bit of a hiatus in the podcast, and just keep it real with you guys. This is the Daniel Yoris podcast. It is my stream of consciousness to a degree, as well as that of my guests. But there's fitness is a gigantic part of life, but it's not your entire life. It's supposed to overwhelmingly add positively to your life. It should never be a stressor, but there's a lot more important things in life as well. It should just be a thing that we do, kind of like it's just running in the background quietly, and it just happens. Now, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you want to be a pro athlete, yeah, you've got to bring that to the foreground and really kick it up a notch, and it's got to be a gigantic part of your life that takes up a ton of time and energy. But if not, it's just a thing that's running in the background and just keeping you status quo. And that's where I really hope to get everyone, that like fitness just becomes a non-issue in your life. You exercise, you eat healthy, and it's not something that overly consumes you, and it's just a thing that you do. That's where I hope to help everyone get to, because once we get there, I think we solve a lot of other problems in society. And so part of me getting back to this is thinking about, okay, well, I can wallow and think about, oh, the world is what it is. I don't have all the answers, but how can I help? how can I contribute positively to this? And I think it starts with, doing good for yourself. So being a good person and going to church and being a good person and learning about that and engaging your community and eating healthy and exercising and taking care of your own body and your own health and leading by example. And so that is something that I'm going to make more of an effort in myself to embody. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that I need to change what I'm doing, because I live a healthy lifestyle. I eat healthy. I do all the things. I'm not always that good at showing it and displaying it. And sometimes it's because I think that I feel sometimes like it's not that special. Like, what am I doing? I'm just eating the same breakfast that I always eat. I'm just, okay, yes, I drink, a few liters of water a day. Like, great, not that big a deal. Yep, I start my day in the morning with a walk. Yes, I turn my phone off at night before I go to bed, and, things like this. And none of the things I do feel that special. And maybe they don't feel that special because I just do them and because they feel natural. And maybe it doesn't feel special because I've been doing it for a long time and I didn't have this grand transformation. Like, I'm not someone who, was 400 pounds and alcoholic and, whatever other things. And then I had this awakening and, transform my whole lifestyle. Like, I didn't have that. And thankfully, so when I do the things that I do, they're kind of just things that I've more or less always done and have evolved a little bit over time, but it doesn't feel that special. And so I don't talk about it, I don't show it enough. And certainly, the whole display of it and this whole social media thing, which has gotten really on my nerves over the last little while, just social media in general, is another thing, and how to make these things seem cool so that people actually see it. Because, to spend 3 hours making a post that 3 people see and don't do anything about, it doesn't seem like a very good use of time for me or for anyone else. But sometimes that's how it is. So to get better at displaying some of the boring, quote unquote boring, monotonous things that, like, hey, this is what living a healthy life looks like, and it's normal, and you should be doing these things. And I'm not peddling anything. It's not like, hey, you have to take these supplements, buy these products, do these things. Like, no, this is just the things that we do as healthy humans, and being healthy should be the default. It shouldn't be this like, oh, I live a healthy lifestyle. Like, no, I just live, and this is what humans do, and everything not that is unhealthy living. And we need to kind of, I don't want to say demonize an other. That's a very hot topic in today's greater scope of things. But like, we need to understand that for what it is and just call it for what it is. Like, not exercising, not eating healthy foods all the time, and again, not engaging in the healthy behaviors, like, that is not good. And we just need to call that out and just say it what it is, and help each other to show that, yep, sometimes, our world is not exactly, especially in North America, society is not exactly set up to easily be healthy. And that kind of sucks, but we're not going to change that. What we can only change is what we do as individuals, and with our families and with our friends and within our own communities, and we can control that and we can make that better. So if I can do a better job of displaying some of those things, and not that I'm all high and mighty and that I'm perfect, and I'm not, but if I can lead by example a little bit better, then I think that will just help, and that will be my little way of having a bigger positive impact and just helping more people. So that's my stream of consciousness. I'm sure some of it maybe get weaved into the rest of this, but I do have a bunch of Q&As that I will get to from you guys who sent them in on Instagram and whatever. It's been a bit, so you maybe forgot that you sent them in. But let's get to those, and I'll try not to ramble too much. And I appreciate you guys for being here. It means a lot. Question 1. How to boost your metabolism after it's been slowed down. The metabolism slowing down thing is most often a little bit overblown. Not that it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen that much unless you've been in a super low or a super deep, calorie deficit for like an extended period of time. And what I mean by super deep is maybe like 1,000 calories a day deficit by a long period of time. I'd say over 3 to 4 months, over 4 months. Unless you've been doing that, you probably haven't done that much damage to your metabolism. However, if you're in that situation or you feel like it's happened, the way to boost your metabolism back up is to simply just eat more food back to your maintenance level. Make sure you're eating an adequate amount of carbs and fats, always amount of protein, but like don't be super low carb and don't be super low fat either. Be kind of like moderate on everything. Hit your protein around like 0.8 grams per pound. Make sure you're exercising. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And that's going to bring your metabolism back up. It may take a few months, may take 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But if it's slowed down, that's how you're going to build it back up. And if your metabolism has really been tanked that badly, by just kind of like eating back up to a maintenance level, and you can even eat like at a little bit of a surplus, or what you perceive to be a surplus. You may even notice some muscle gain coming back, so like your body composition might improve during that time. So yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. It probably hasn't happened to as significant of a level as you may perceive it to have happened. But really the only way to get out of it is just eat more, get back into a good exercise routine, make sure you're sleeping well, and would be a good idea to go get some blood work and just like go get a general checkup at the doctor and just make sure that everything else is all functioning fine. Your thyroid is okay, and your kidneys are okay, and your liver and all this stuff is good. And if so, then continue. But good idea to go get that checked on. Question 2: is walking with a weighted vest worth it? Yeah, I think so. It's I this is one of the whole like fitness and social media things, and sorry, I said I was going to try not to let my stream of consciousness in here, but it is, so sorry. This somehow became like a trend, like it caught on, especially among like the women over 40 crowd, of like all of a sudden now like weighted vests are a thing, which like weighted vests are not new, and it's just like, I don't know, some influencer said it in some way, and it's like this just caught on, and okay, that's fine. And it's not like there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, I use a weighted vest. It's great. It's just like not the solution to all your problems. It's not the only thing that you need to do. It's not magic. It helps you to burn slightly more calories than you would otherwise while walking. But like walking or exercise in general is not a really good way to burn calories. That's kind of a silly sentence. You shouldn't be using your exercise for the main purpose of burning calories. It does that as a side effect, but there are so many other benefits. So yeah, it's going to have a little bit of a higher calorie burn, maybe good for working on some, if you have bone density, which is probably the way that it's sold to the women over 40 crowd. I haven't seen the ads and stuff. Obviously I don't get targeted by those. So yeah, is it worth it? Sure. Like it's fine. There's like nothing wrong with it unless you have some injuries to your shoulders or like something like that. It's not terribly expensive, maybe like a couple $100 for like a good one. And by good one, I mean like one that's more comfortable and whatever, but like there's probably like a $30 one you can get that's like kind of flimsy and shitty, but like gets the job done. Or you could literally just put some books and stuff in a backpack that you already have and walk with that. It would be sort of the same purpose. So yeah, the downsides are basically zero, and the upside is a slightly more strenuous walk and maybe a little bit of help in the bone density department, but not significant positive swings either way. So is it worth it? Again, yeah, it's fine, but you're not missing out on anything major if you're not doing it. So that's that, and that is probably true for most trend-like things that just randomly catch on out of nowhere. It's like, is this a good thing? Yeah, it's fine, and it's nice to do. Is it absolutely necessary? Almost never. Question 3. What is one truth about the fitness industry that most coaches know but would never admit in public? I guess I really should have looked at these questions before I recorded it. I might have to come back to this one, because I don't think that, like, and I said this earlier today, and I've said this hundreds of times before, there's no secrets. There's not like this, some sort of secret, some secret knowledge that like all the coaches know. And like, once you hire us, then I'll tell you the real thing. And that's when everything happens. All the information is already out there. All the secrets are already out there. If someone had a legit secret, they would package it up and sell it, and they would become very, 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 very rich if there was like a legit secret. If there's anything that I could say, and it's not even really a secret, but like, most good coaches know that there are many ways to produce progress, and that there is no single best way. So it's, kind of cheating the question a little bit. Like, it's not really a secret, but like, everyone has their thing. Like, I've got my style and my way of coaching, and the things that I like and the things that I think are best for most people. And so I would never outright recommend someone to do some of the things that are like not in my style, or that I don't sell or coach. And it's not that I wouldn't recommend it, it's just it wouldn't be my first recommendation. Something like going to group fitness classes, going to Pilates, doing whatever. And I've got nothing against those things. I lied. I do have some marketing issues with those things. But the bar for improvement in exercise or in fitness for most people is like pretty low. And so when you take someone from doing nothing to doing something, they're going to experience benefits. And so that can be group classes, that can be aquafit, that can be just walking with or without a weighted vest, or it can be, some more dedicated strength training. It can be any or all of the things. And that's going to produce some good results, because exercise is healthy for you, exercise of any kind. Now, can we get better results? Can we get more targeted results? Can we get more efficient results by doing one thing over another? Yes. And these are related, but two different subjects, kind of. So I wouldn't say, if someone said, hey, what should I do? I'm open to everything, and I'll do whatever you say. The thing that I wouldn't say is like, yeah, go do group classes, go do whatever. I would say, okay, well, let's get in the gym, let's do some strength training and whatever, because that's what I do. I have clients who I work with, online clients who I work with, more on the nutrition side of things, because they're like, hey, I do not want to go to the gym. I don't want to go in and lift on my own. I understand. I hear you. I get it. I understand that you're right and all these things. It's just not for me. I want to go do my group class. I want to go do my Pilates. I want to go do aquafit. I want to go do whatever. And that's fine. And I have clients who do that, and that's good for them. Now, that's not on my recommendation, and that's all fine and good. And I'm happy that they're getting help. And exercising and all those things, and we have a conversation about what it is that they're getting and what they're doing and not doing, and all these things. It's just not the thing that I'm going to push them toward. And so the same thing is true for them. Like, if you're a Pilates person and someone comes to you and says, hey, how should I start doing things? Obviously, they're going to suggest that for exercise you do Pilates, and I wouldn't blame them, because that's their thing and that's what they do. They wouldn't say, oh, go do something else, don't do my thing. It's a little bit silly. If the person is like, has no injuries and open to everything, if the person is expressing preferences one way or another, then push them that way. I would never tell someone to like, well, hey, if you're not going to strength train and you're not going to like squat and deadlift and whatever, you might as well just not exercise. I would absolutely never say that. I would rather someone do literally any type of exercise than not. So is my preference one thing over the other? Of course. Can I back that preference up and explain it in a way that justifies it? Absolutely. Am I going to force anyone to do that versus another type of exercise that they really want to do? No, of course not. That would be completely silly. So yeah, so I guess the truth that I don't know if most coaches know this, honestly, because the bar is pretty low, but like, kind of everything works. So there's that. There's better ways to do things, but like, kind of everything works. I'll keep this one in the back of my mind, because I don't think there's like a better secret thing, but like, if I think of something else during this episode, I'll come back to it. Have I changed anything about training after turning 30? So I just turned 31 a couple weeks ago. No, I personally have not, and I don't recommend anyone do that either. In your 30s, you're not old. You're not ancient. Like if you, one of my former clients said this, like she's in her 50s, and she's like, if you think you're old in your 30s, like, what are you going to do when you're 70? Like, there's a long ways to go after 30. Like, it's not the end. So no, I have not changed anything after 30. And again, don't recommend anyone do. I do, however, recommend people change the way that they train and the way that they eat and whatever according to your current life situation. And this is more of an individual thing and not at all an age-related thing. Certain things, happen generally more at like certain ages, just part of the life cycle. But it's not because of your age. It's just part of like our society. So my training is like different because of my injuries that I've had since forever. So my training has always been a little bit more like prehab-ish focused and like maybe resembles a little bit more of like what an older guy should be training like in a way, only because I'm more conscious of my injuries and like the things that I need to do for my own body versus like you're fresh and no injuries and just like get in there and let it rip. I haven't been able to train like that in a really long time. I can do that for, workouts here and there, but not for like, long periods of time without caring about it, just because again, but this is individual to me and my body, has nothing to do with me being 30. It was also the same case when I was 17. So it doesn't change anything. But yeah, for the most part, like all of my clients who are like in their 30s, I don't recommend that they start changing anything. I think over 50 is when things maybe in general, again, individual always, but like that's when things maybe start to change. And I did an episode a little bit ago with Brian Cron, and we spoke about that. He's in that over 50 age category and been training a really long time, like one of the best trainers and coaches out there. And we spoke more specifically about that, and he obviously has more insights on that. But everything, like from the coach perspective, it kind of comes back to the individual. Like my clients who are over 50, I don't give them specific things because they're over 50. Give them or not give them specific exercise because they're over 50. It's just always a feedback as to like what the client needs or what that person needs at that time. So like on average, are my 50-year-old guys doing less intense quote unquote workouts than like 25-year-old guys? Yeah, but it's not like I start them or I limit them in any way. It's just like, we push as much as you can push, and everyone gets what they get and everyone gets what they need. So I wouldn't think too much about it if you're like, turning 30 soon or in your 30s or something like that. You don't need to be doing anything different because of your age. Like, don't use that as an excuse. Don't use that as a crutch. Just give yourself what you need for your body. And if it's different than it was before, then that's fine. You just adjust from there and you go forward. Most of the guys who are in and around my age and people that I knew from a while ago and stuff, the problem is that you haven't exercised in like 8 to 10 or more years. And so you get back in the gym or get back to playing basketball or playing whatever. And you're like, yeah, I remember how this was when I was 16. And it's like, okay, well, you're not 16 anymore. You're not old, but you're not 16. And you also just haven't been exercising. Like when you were 16, you were exercising and stuff your whole life up until then. So you were like in shape, quote unquote, at that time. Then you stopped exercising for 10 years. And it's not because you're old, it's just because you're out of shape. So you can get back to that. You just got to ramp it up slowly. So you can't just get in there and be a hero. That's the main thing. Yeah. So individual approach. Don't just paint yourself with blanket rules because you're gonna just limit yourself artificially for no reason and potentially even to your own detriment. How much does alcohol really affect fitness progress? A lot. I think this is a conversation that's overblown. If you're looking for ways to justify continuing to drink a large amount of alcohol frequently and make significant fitness progress, you got to reevaluate your priorities. That's the truth there. Now, does that mean you can never drink again? No, obviously not. But like if you're trying to drink heavy 3 times a week and like make significant progress, it's just going to be tough. On a purely calories basis alone, It's just going to make it tough. Never mind the other effects of alcohol. Never mind the other effects that it has on your body. Never mind the lack of sleep that it causes, and maybe the next day lack of motivation and things like that. Never mind all those things. Just from purely calories perspective only, just the extra alcohol is just not helping in any way. So you gotta get over that. You gotta decide what you want. You want to make fitness progress, or you want to drink 3-4 times a week. Does having one drink a couple times a week really make a ton of difference? No, it's definitely not ideal or optimal or perfect, and wouldn't suggest that. But is it really going to make a huge difference if you enjoy having that one glass of whatever on a Thursday after work? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that. It's not going to, it's not going to make a huge difference. It's just not helping you in any way either. So you got to find the balance here, and mostly it's just going to come down to priorities. But the way that this question is phrased is more like hey, can I still get hammered on Wednesday and like be jacked and healthy? And maybe that's the way I'm perceiving it. I don't know. There's not enough detail, but like, you know the answer. You know the answer, and you got to just adjust your lifestyle accordingly. How to know if you are training hard enough? Very good question. There's kind of two ways to go about this. One, if you are making progress, you're training hard enough. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but it's the truth. It's hard to measure always exact specific things in fitness and fitness progress. But like, hey, if you're putting in an input, as in whatever it is that you're doing in training, and you are getting your desired output, which is, results at X rate that you're happy with, then you're doing good. Then you're doing good. And I wouldn't evaluate anything different. Now, if you're not getting the results, here's how I'm going to frame this question. It's like, if you're not getting the results that you want, how do you know that your training intensity is the culprit rather than your nutrition is the culprit, or anything else? So to rule out the other things, that this would be the best way to figure out if training is the real issue. Because you can increase your training intensity and like you can solve that problem, but if your nutrition is still like way off, your sleep is way off, or like something else is like way off, it's not going to close that gap. Like, it'll be better, but it's not going to just all of a sudden, like, that's the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing to start getting you to make some progress. So take a look at your nutrition, like keep a food log. So what I do with all my clients, keep a food log, look at it, be honest about it. Like, are you eating enough fruits and vegetables? Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating a sufficient amount of calories and all that stuff in accordance with your goals? Are you getting a good amount of nutrients in? Are you eating out all the time? Check these things. If you can like pretty honestly say that, like, yeah, my nutrition is like pretty good, it can probably improve a little bit, but like my nutrition's not that bad, then you check that box. Are you sleeping at least 7.5 hours a night on average? Are you moving enough? Are you getting at least 7,000 steps a day? If you can answer those things, and then we can look at your training. So we look at your training and say, what has your training looked like over the past month? That's question number one. If you can't answer that question, meaning you haven't been tracking your lifts, you don't have a program that you follow, and you're not writing in each week your weights and your reps and all that stuff. If you're not doing that, then we don't even know if you're training hard. There's no way to really evaluate this from an outside perspective other than watching you in a given session. So you look at that and you say, okay, are my weights and reps increasing assuming you have this tracked? Are my weights and reps increasing, week to week? Not necessarily every week on every single lift, but like in general, am I training harder than last time every time? If the answer to that is no, well, then you're probably not training hard enough. If you've been stuck at 100 pounds for 10 reps on whatever lift for like 7 weeks in a row, like, yeah, you got to find a way to push the boundary on that a little bit more. Like, do 105 pounds, do 11 reps, do an extra set, whatever it is. then the final way is this: how to know you're training hard in like a single set, or like a single exercise kind of week on week. The reason that reps are usually prescribed in a range where we'll say, do 10 to 12 reps of bench press is because the rep number doesn't really matter all that much. Like, your muscles can't count. So your muscles don't know specifically the difference between doing 10 or 11 reps. The rep number is more a reflection of like the relative intensity of that exercise. And we want to be approaching like the max intensity that you can hit, or, approaching failure. So when we say 10 to 12 reps, that means pick a weight that you can lift for about 10 to 12 times at like a 9 out of 10 level of effort, not a weight that you can just arbitrarily lift for 10 to 12 times and call it a day. Because if you, if you hit that weight for 12 reps, but you could have done 17, well, it wasn't that hard. And so, yeah, you did the 12 reps, but so what? Your muscles can't count. No approximation to failure. No sensation of a high degree of force going through them, and all that kind of stuff. And so therefore, you're just not going to grow. So if you're picking your weights based on numbers, not based on the intensity, that's where you might not be training hard enough. So when you have that 10 to 12 rep range for bench press, the way that I kind of like to coach it is, and this is not perfect, but you're aiming towards this. Week 1, you pick a weight, and maybe the first set you're kind of just gauging it, you feel it out. Okay. Second set, you kind of know where you stand. You pick a weight that you could do for 10 reps. And if your life depended on it, you could squeeze out 12, but like you stop at 10, but you definitely couldn't get 13. Okay. You stop at 10, you do your 3 sets. Boom, go do the rest of your workout, recover, come back to the workout the next week. Next week, you're trying to hit the top end of that range. So you keep that 100 pounds or whatever I said, or whatever it is, same weight, and you try and hit that 12, the top of that rep range. But you hit 12, you could get 13, you could maybe squeeze out 14 if your life depended on it, but not 15. Because if you can get that many reps, then it's too light. Then next week, you come back, you pick a higher weight. So you go from 100 to 110. And you're probably back somewhere at the bottom of that rep range. So you're barely getting to 10. Maybe on that last set, you're even like barely getting to 10. Like you're getting 9. And that's okay. It doesn't matter that you didn't hit the reps. We're just kind of trying to sort of approximate it. It's just that as humans, putting numbers and things, it makes it a little bit more tangible. And so it helps us make sense of it rather than say, just go for like close to 10. It's like, that's really what we mean. It's like if you get 9, it's not bad. You didn't fail the workout. You didn't, it didn't not work. It's just like you didn't hit the number exactly, but it doesn't matter because we're trying to get that approximation to failure. So that's how you have to always think of it. Like, what is the intended rep target, and am I at least close to that? And if you find yourself in a situation on that workout, maybe you for whatever reason you're just like you're on fire that day, you're just feeling really good, and you get to rep 12, and you're like, I got more in the tank. Like I can keep going here. I can get like 3-4 more reps in. Do it, or stop the set there, increase the weight, and keep going. So. But then you got to equate your volumes and stuff like that, and that's a little bit more difficult. So what I would say is if you're on your 3rd set and you got to 12 reps and you're like, man, this is, you can't take this long to think about it, but like in your head quickly, you're like, okay, rep 11, rep 12. It's like, I got like 3, 4, maybe even 5 still in me. Well, then just push it and just let it rip, and then get to 15. And you know that, okay, next week I've obviously got to bump up my weights if I want to be in this rep range. So you want to just be finding yourself within like 2-ish reps of failure. Now it's a really hard place to gauge, super accurately all the time. A term you may have heard referred to as people talk about RIR and lift with, 1 RIR, 2 RIR. It's really hard to really gauge that accurately. You can, if you go to actual failure, then you can kind of work backwards from there. But like, it's not always exactly safe or like a good idea to be like pushing through to failure on every exercise, every single set. So this is where like training hard actually becomes a bit of a learned skill. And so you'll learn over time to push yourself harder and harder. And it's not just about you getting stronger. It's about relative effort in that set where it's like, you know, okay, like that's what it starts to feel like when it starts to burn. Okay, now I got to lock in, but like the weight is still moving pretty fast. It just like, you know, kind of hurts. Not hurts. It's just like kind of like I feel it. Like I'm struggling, I'm pushing, but the weight's still moving. When the weight moves real slow, that's a much better indicator that you're like approximating failure versus the feeling of the burn or the feeling of tired or your brain telling you like, hey, I've had enough, because your brain's going to tell you that pretty quickly because obviously it doesn't want to be doing that. It would rather just be sitting on the couch, kicking your feet up and chilling rather than, you know, sitting under a heavy barbell and pushing it really difficultly. But so over time, that will become a learned behavior where you can sort of override that alarm bell going off in your brain saying like, hey, I feel the burn, let's stop this. Now, there's a difference between that and like, hey, this is going to injure me. And again, over time, you will be able to discern what those feelings feel like. But yeah, you gotta spend the time to track it and have an intention about your exercise to be like, hey, I'm going to get pretty close to failure here and I'm going to see how far I can go. This is why I actually do think there is some value in like even doing 1 rep maxes when you're a little bit more advanced, but like when you have a spotter, when you have a buddy with you, maybe like just like pick a weight and like let it rip. See how many you can get at max, like till you're shaking, till your buddy has to like pull your hands up, like find the line because safely, but like the only way to find the limit is to cross it. So once you establish that, you're like, oh damn, I thought I was like, you know, I couldn't get more than 12 at 100 pounds, but you know, my buddy came today and we did it and I got 25 reps. Like that was probably a little extreme, but like I got 20 reps. It's like, well, you were just sandbagging it for 8 reps. And like, yeah, it's going to be hard. Training hard is difficult. Duh. I know that sounds so stupid, but it is difficult. This is why I'm saying it's a bit of a learned behavior to override those like brain signals of your brain telling you like, hey, I don't like this. Stop. This hurts. It's hard. I feel the muscle burning. Like you gotta get there. One of the famous Arnold lines was like, he wouldn't start counting the reps until it started to burn. And that's actually a really good example. That's a little, you know, silly and tongue in cheek. It's a good example of what I'm discussing here because the number of reps doesn't matter. Like you got to just approximate to failure. That your body doesn't count. You don't want to be doing more reps than you necessarily need to because there's some extra fatigue that's going to come into play and other things that come into play. So you don't want to be doing sets of like 50 on everything. This way you can use heavier weights and do less reps and still get there. But the basic idea of that, of not counting until it starts to burn is pretty good because it means that obviously you're trying to train close to failure. And so, you know, when you're getting close to failure, like your body's going to feel it. I'm not advocating for you to injure yourself and all that stuff, but like training is, if you're training to build muscle, like to really make some progress, and especially if you want progress quickly, like training is not supposed to tickle. It's not supposed to hurt you, but it's not supposed to tickle either. It should feel like you're working and it should feel difficult. And if it does that, feels like that most of the time, and you're making progress, then that's how you know that you're training hard enough. So keep chasing that feeling. Last one here. Any weird health or fitness biohacking things that actually work? This could probably be a whole episode on its own. I will try and keep this quick though. Yes, there are things that work, except they only work like a small amount, and they don't work independently of like just doing the regular basic stuff, like making sure that you're exercising regularly, making sure that you are drinking enough water, eating well, blah blah blah. So that's why I love talking about those things and I love reading about them and exploring them. Like I've tried a ton of stuff over the years. Some of it stuck and some of it not so much. And mostly because it's like, yeah, it kind of helps and feels good, but it's like, you know, whatever. Not making the world of a difference as people sell it to be. But, you know, things like grounding, touching your feet on the grass and doing that. Like, yeah, does it change your whole life? No. Does it help? Yeah, it feels nice. Feels good. blue light blocking glasses at night and getting that blue light out of your eyes. I think that one probably helps maybe more than most, but like even better than that is just like get your screens off. And whether it's the blue light or whether it's just that, you're not taking in that information and stimulating yourself that way, who knows? But like the effect is the same. So that filtered water, definitely a thing. I was literally just talking to a buddy yesterday, and he had moved into a new condo, and he was saying he's like, I never really cared about my skin, but all of a sudden my skin was just like all like rashy and itchy and whatever. He's like, I never put it together. And then someone he's like, I saw somewhere that I should get a shower filter. It's like I got a filter for the shower, and all of a sudden my skin just like stops. Like I never considered that before, because he's like, I guess the place wherever he was living before either just had better water, or maybe it even had a shower filter on it, and he didn't even know, like could have been any of those things. But shower filters, filter your drinking water, those things definitely matter. Those are things that you should certainly be doing. What are some other things that like kind of help? I don't know if it's biohacking really, but like supplements, like creatine works, vitamin D works, omega-3s work, magnesium works, zinc works. Take all those things. Not going to change your whole life, but like definitely helps. Collagen is something that maybe I'm experimenting with that myself right now. The cold showers and like sauna thing, I think sauna is probably better, but like it's hard to get to a sauna unless you have one in your house or your gym has one or whatever. Definitely, again, hard to say it's a biohacking thing, because it's like, yeah, it is healthy for you. Is it going to change your whole life? No, but is it healthy for you if you can get to one? Yes. Cold showers, great mental exercise, little physical benefit probably, but great mental exercise. What else can I say on these ones? That's pretty much it. I mean, they're not that weird. Like wearing clothes that are made of cotton rather than synthetic clothing. That's probably something that's like, the way I'm trying to evaluate this is like, what are the downsides to that? Pretty much zero. Maybe, you make some fashion allowances here and there to choose cotton or like natural fibers over like polyester and synthetic stuff. It's going to change your whole life? Probably not. What's the downside to it? Basically zero. Is a potential upside there? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Same kind of evaluation as the weighted vesting. I think barefoot shoes, I think that's actually a huge one. And like being barefoot, like one of the strangest differences between Canadians and Americans is that in most places in America, people wear their shoes like inside their own house, like all the time. And cleanliness aside, you're wearing shoes that are like constricting your feet and changing the angle and biomechanics of your whole body. And it's not because it's just because that's how most shoes are. So you get your feet out of those shoes in your own house, like take your shoes off, wear no shoes. And when you can, wear shoes that have a wide toe box, that are pretty flat, that don't have a thick sole. It'll change the way your feet feel and change the way your whole, your ankles, knees, hips, back feels. You got to go slowly with this over time, but I think that's actually a gigantic upside, and pretty low downside so long as you like go slowly enough with it that you don't injure yourself. But yeah, that's all I can kind of think of off the top of my head. There's a lot of stuff that's out there. It starts to get into the realm of like the downside is usually like a pretty high financial cost. And so the upside is like not that high. And that's where I kind of get like, I don't know that this is even worth testing or really talking about for the most part, because it's like you're not going to go out and buy some like $5,000 gadget that is going to have like a 0.2% increase on your quality of life or something like that. Unless you have like tons of money, which, by all means, like go do whatever you want. But like for the most part, people are not gonna be doing that. But all the things I talk about are like pretty like very low cost and like so then low downside. And even of these things that are like pretty expensive, the downside of them, like there's not really any negatives. Like it's, you want to buy some very expensive like PEMF mat thing that goes on your bed and whatever. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Like the downside of that is nothing. Like it's not going to do anything negatively to you other than it's just expensive. And the upside is like pretty low as well. So I think it's a bad like ratio. But it's not a bad thing to do. But yeah, those are pretty much the things. So stick to those. Just think about like how to implement those things in your life and try and do that. And that'll help. I haven't thought about any other type of secret thing that like most of the fitness industry, most coaches know that would never admit. Nothing came to me. I don't have one, and it's because there's no secrets, because this whole fitness thing, and to kind of wrap this up and make this all full circle now, this is like a solved issue, as I said earlier, right? This is a solved issue. We know how to solve fitness. We know how to be a good person. Church teaches us that, and we know how to be fit, and fit people, and fitness teaches us that. It's not a mystery as to how to get fit, how to get stronger, how to lose weight. These things are not mysteries. It's just about applying it. And the sooner a practical application of what I'm saying is that most questions that we get, and by we I mean like me and my fitness trainer friends, it's a lot of stuff about like, what do I eat? What do I this? What do I do that? And it's like, hey, you can, this is figure outable. It's very figure outable. I don't mean this like put this on you, but like that's not the question that you should be asking. The questions you should be asking is, how do I implement this in my life? How do I do this regularly? How do I do this 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week for the next forever? Those are the questions you should be asking. So when you flip your thinking to how do I implement this in my life, rather than like, well, what do I eat for lunch? Like that, we can figure that out in 5 seconds, and that's not going to solve all the problems. Like you probably already know the answer to this. So even for yourself, think like, hey, the knowledge is not the missing piece here. It's just the application of the knowledge. That's the missing piece. And so when we start flipping that as far as how you're asking questions, and how you are thinking about this for your own implementation of things that you learn here on this podcast or anywhere else that you find fitness information, that's going to start to help you a ton more, rather than thinking about, so-and-so said this, so I'll just, so that, so I'll eat broccoli, or like, great, but that wasn't probably the missing piece. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you for listening always, and always, tuning in and supporting and all that stuff. Make sure you subscribe, help the show grow, and we're going to keep this thing going. We've got a strong end of the year. I have recorded some guest episodes in this little hiatus, just haven't posted them. So, yeah, we got a strong end of the year as we're approaching episode 250, which is very exciting. So yeah, just appreciate you guys being here. Like, share, subscribe. Go outside. Be a good person. See you next time.